I'm a disgruntled Eagles fan, and we're awesome.
Hey, disgruntled. I haven't sat in this pool table for a while, but this video I'm just going to recap this frustrating and disappointing season the Eagles had this last 2019-2020 season. I feel like at the beginning of every season, there's always like huge hype around the Eagles. In the 2011 Dream Team to Chip Kelly's first year, couple of years after the Super Bowl, there's always like something that the Eagles are going to go like 13-3 and then just take it to another Super Bowl and win it, or at least like do really well in the playoffs. There's always this huge hype before the season, fans getting excited and stuff, but you know, it's always disappointing and frustrating as the season goes on. And this year especially, because we got a couple years from the Super Bowl, so we still have a few key players from that team, so it's just we're expected to be definitely better than mediocre 9-7 team, at least 10-6 or 11-5 team. But you know, it just wasn't the case this year, and this year was especially frustrating. Well, I mean, it's been the case for the last 3 years, but we've just been decimated with injuries, from our entire offense being gone to a few key players injured on defense. This year has outweighed the last couple of years because we have been trying to use practice squad, or we had or forced to use practice squad players in many of our key positions on offense, and it's just we couldn't get anything going. And the beginning of this year, you know, we have Jordan Howard to start the year, Deshaun Jackson, a couple other key players that we added that, you know, was really going to light that spark and take us deep into a playoff run. And you know what? We started a little rocky in the Redskins game. We lost the first half, but then you got excited because the second half of that Redskins game, we actually took off and see what we could actually be made with. 2 Deshaun Jackson deep bombs for touchdowns, comeback win against an NFC East divisional game, and we came back, won, and then just got more excited for the season to come because I felt like the Redskins game first half, we just shook off all those nerves and stuff, you know, from normal season openers, and you know, most of the starters didn't play in preseason, so just to shake off some of that rust, and we showed that. But then in the second half, as we played the Falcons and Lions, we were close to winning those games. A couple key drops that would have won us the game. Drops killed us. To be honest, drops killed us early on this season. And surprisingly, we're not the most dropped team, or we don't have the most drops between the NFL teams. We're probably, you know, in the top 10, I think, top 15, but we're not the most. So, you know, we dropped a couple key passes, but that wasn't really an excuse for later on in the season. But, you know, it's been a roller coaster season as of every Eagles season, except for the Super Bowl season where it was just uphill constantly. But I felt like this was an extra roller coaster because we go from losing 2 in a row, then beating Green Bay at home, and then I forget losing a couple in between that, and then just like winning some key games like Buffalo, and then winning 4 straight to end the season. So it was just like, all right, we had some losing streaks, some winning streaks, key wins in there, losing to the Patriots, Seahawks. But, you know, the injuries just killed us this season. Coaching was key this season as of the last 3 years, because it's how you coach the players that you have on the team when you do have injuries and other players going out for the season or for a few games, and how you're going to rebound from that. And I was really impressed with Doug Peterson on how he won 4 games in a row to end the season to get us into the playoffs. Yes, I know they're against trash teams, NFC least. Yeah, I already know. I'm an Eagles fan for 17, 18 years now. I know how the NFC East works. But, you know, their wins nonetheless, and they catapulted us into the playoffs. And then a disappointing loss. Did you really think that we would get anywhere in the playoffs? Well, the Eagles made you have hope, right? You know, going into the playoffs, after 4 wins, we were like, all right, shaky wins between those 4 wins, but we're having some momentum and create some momentum, and we should at least make a close game against the Seahawks, in which we did. And I was actually impressed that we made it to the Super Bowl. To the playoffs this year, but yeah, just injuries. I'm impressed with the practice squad and how they performed. Doug did as much as he could with as little as he had. Some stars came out of the practice squad, not like super mega stars like, freaking Michael Thomas sprinting down the sideline, catching 50-yard bombs or 10 to 12 receptions a game, not those kind of stars, but emerging stars as in Greg Ward and Boston Scott as some of the key ones, but just showed that we have at least a 5th string receiver next year. Heck, probably even a 3rd or 4th string receiver in Greg Ward, and a good backup, Darren Sproles, punt return guy next year too. So at least a couple good things came out of this season, but it was just frustrating because we had all these key guys, but then they got hurt like right away, and we had to just like replace them and bounce back from them. But we did, when time needed. I don't know. I just felt like this was really frustrating because I felt like we have like all the key parts going into the season. We have freaking dominant weapons on the offense, as in Nelson Aguilar, Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, and then we have Carson Wentz, and we stepped up in the running back game because last year we really struggled with the running back position, but we added Miles Sanders. We got Jordan Howard. We got Jordan Howard for like nothing, and our running game really stepped up a crap ton, especially with Miles Sanders towards the end of the season stepping up after Jordan Howard got injured. But like, I feel confident with our running back situation. I know there's a few people saying we should trade Jordan Howard. I honestly don't think we should, because we need that punch in the mouth or punch in the face kind of guy where set up 3rd and 2, just run it down the middle. And I don't think we've been utilizing him as much as we should on short gains, because I don't know, I feel like we should utilize Jordan Howard more. I just felt like we didn't this year because I don't know, he's a dominant back. He had like 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, but we just didn't use him as well. I know he got injured towards the end of the season, didn't really play for the rest of the season after he got injured, but that came as a surprise as well, because his first few seasons in the NFL, he never got injured. Nothing, he never missed a game, and then all of a sudden he got injured. But during I'm going to go back to the Chip Kelly era for a couple seconds. Look, don't get me wrong. He did everything wrong in this organization. He screwed us over in so many ways, countless ways. But the one thing that came out that was good that came out of that era was, I don't know how he did it, and it's just this is the thing that you can't really like control, his injuries. He didn't have any injuries like his teams, or that team that he had for like however long he stayed in Philadelphia, or freaking completely changed the team. But like his teams that he had during the Eagles, or his run with the Eagles, they just didn't get injured. I mean, yeah, sure, there's a couple big injuries to a couple players even, but it was just not anything major compared to the Doug Peterson era, with the past 4 years that he's been coaching, just decimated with injuries and having to use practice squads. If you look back in the Super Bowl run, which made the Super Bowl run even more impressive, is that we had key players injured, but then we had backups to replace those. But I think the difference between this year and the Super Bowl run season is that we had to use practice squads. We just kept getting injured. Our first, second, third string players were just getting injured. So we had to use practice squads, so we couldn't really do anything with that. Chip Kelly, he kept the team healthy through his run as a coach. But I don't know how you keep a team healthy, because it's just one of the most frustrating things in the world. We have one of the best offensive lines coming into the season. A really good receiver core. We don't have that one superstar like Michael Thomas or like DeAndre Hopkins. We don't have that one-star receiver that will just like change the game in the snap of a finger. But we have a pretty impressive like receiver stack. Not terrible, but like middle point, like just above the middle point with Jeffrey, Aguilar, Jackson, and we signed JJ over the draft. But we just have like really good receivers coming into it, really dominant defense. Yeah. I don't blame Jim Schwartz for this season either. He had a few bad games, but he was keeping the Eagles in mostly every game. You have to keep credit for that. I just blame the offense. You can't really blame the offense, but they just need to score more. Like, you can't settle for field goals via Seahawks playoff game. You just can't. You have to score touchdowns in this league to win. And I don't want the Eagles to fire Jim Schwartz at all after the season, because if you hold a team to 17 points or under, you should count on the offense to score more than 17 points and not just score 3 field goals to get 9 points. He should be the last one with Doug Peterson to be fired. Jim Schwartz he's so intelligent with the defense. He has his few hiccups this season, but he's doing the best that he can. The cornerbacks are terrible. I don't know. We should fire Mike Groh. Mike Groh, our offensive coordinator, he should be one of the first fired. Because, if we're 9-7, there's something wrong. And I feel like Mike Groh should be the first person to get fired. Jim Schwartz, Doug Peterson should be the last. And a few other key people should be fired this year. Because this was just a frustrating year. I know you can't really help the injuries, but I don't know. It just seemed disappointed. Just a disappointing and frustrating year because we couldn't get really much going. But, yeah. I felt like the offense let us down. I know, like I said previously, that we didn't have much on offense midway through the season with injuries, but I don't know. I feel like we should have scored more points. We still had Carson. But I feel like with a healthy roster, we would have beaten the Seahawks. I hate using that injury excuse, but like, come on, we were using practice squad players. Zach Ertz had a lacerated kidney and was still playing. We were just decimated with injuries, and somehow we came close to beating the Seahawks. But I feel like if we actually had some of our key players, freaking Carson Wentz went out that game, we would be talking about a divisional round playoff game next to 49ers or the Green Bay Packers. But I don't know. It's been a frustrating year. I don't really know what else to say. Then wait till next year, but yeah. Well, I mean, the Seahawks game, playoff game, I feel like we would have won if we just scored more touchdowns, obviously. But we just couldn't score touchdowns, that's all. And yeah. And thanks for watching.